come to the city and they would rub shoulders with the Mblo, they would rub shoulders with the Thai or the Nyala, and they learn from their culture, they glean from their culture, and taking part of that, taking it back to our culture and say, how do we build our culture with that? How do we build our people group with that?
Right.
You know, and so I get a lot of crap for, oh, your food is too mika. You know, we get a lot of crap like, oh, your food is not really authentic, you know, Hmong. And I'm like, what's authentic Hmong? Define that for me.
Right.
We'll have a conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing as I've always talked about this too. Whenever we talk about this discussion of like, oh, it's not Hmong. Like you always hear that comment say it's not Hmong enough. I say, well, look, most people, when we talk about papaya salad, you like the papaya salad you grew up on, which is your aunts, your moms, or whatever. So when you go to the Hmong village and there's 30 choices of papaya salad, it still takes you all 30. And at the end of the day, you're like, I kind of like the one my aunt made because that's the best one because that's just the best. It's like best according to you. Best according to you. So it's subjective in that sense. And I have my cousin that lives in France. He's really big into cooking too. And I always tell him too, I'm like, because he wants to start food stuff. And I always tell him, like, look, listen, your food that you're bringing from the French culture over, you're probably going to think that is the most killer food you've ever made. Yeah. But now try serving it to American mouths. Yeah. And they're probably going to rip on you. And then you're going to be like, they don't understand. And they're not wrong. And neither are you. Like everybody's right in their own mind. So that's why food is tough. Food is tough.
Yeah.
Food is tough.
And Hmong has changed like so much in even just the past 10 years.
Yeah. It's progression.
We
move forward.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like, you know, one of the things you guys talked about in the Meat Eater podcast, sorry to always go back to it, is like wherever we migrated to, like we've always adapted to those things, right? Yeah. Whether it's language, whether it's culture, whether it's pho. I mean, pho is you know, it's home to Southeast Asia, it's not just a Hmong dish, right? I mean, it's and so if you talk about all these
before the Vietnamese made it Vietnamese, you know, pho, it was influenced by the Chinese.
Yep.
You know, so it's just like, you know, historically we did this show on pho, and so I did a little research on it. It's traced back to Chinese roots.
Oh, really?
You know, so is ramen too. Everything comes from China.
China
made.
Right. No, everything is.
And so like, this idea of what is authentically Hmong is kind of, I don't know.
I mean, how do you even define it?
Some idea.
Yeah, how do you even define it though?
Yeah.
What is like authentic Hmong to you?
Changing.
Yeah, what's authentic to you? Because I could say, like some people want to say, oh, like your food is not as authentic as Hmong Food Village. Yeah. Well, maybe to me, Hmong Food Village is not authentic until you get to Laos.
Right. Yeah, until you've been to Laos, so it's just like,
exactly.
you've been there, and you're like, well,
exactly. I ate over there, and so I'm like, well, maybe this is authentic. And then maybe to the Hmong people in Laos, maybe you got a Hmong guy who came from China. He's used to like, he considers himself a real meow, and he's like, no, this is Lao Hmong food. Real Hmong food is Chinese
and
Hmong food.
We can talk this until we're blue in the face. And it's like one of those things where it's like it goes around and around. But one of the things I really learned is to just see beyond that, right?
Yeah,
to have a bigger creativity than that.
Yeah.
You know, man, like it's like one of those things where I think about where it's like if we subjugate it to this little thing, then that's where our creativity is.
Yeah.
You know, my mom always talks about like, I want to see my children change the world, not just the Hmong world.
Yep.
She always says that to us, and that's like thinking beyond.
Yeah,
you know, it's thinking beyond, like, kind of, I call it immigrant refugee thinking. You know, because immigrant refugee thinking is survival now. What do we need? Like living paycheck to paycheck, right?
Yep.
But when we are able to have that privilege to say, what's savings, right?
Yeah.
How do we save? How do we stockpile something away so that when the tough seasons come, we can glean from that. Our people have never really have that, but now we're starting to have that, and now we get to talk about that. You know. So I find it that it's this thing where it's like, it's gonna, as much as we're educating and as much as we are telling, you know, the majority culture about who Hmong people are, I think there's a part of us that have to come back and kind of educate our own people. You know, and saying, hey, this is what we're thinking about. This is what we're talking about. You know,
right.
And I think that there's every generation, or whatever you want to call it, there's always a group of young people, you know, that are going, okay, I'm not questioning the status quo. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm trying to say, hey, is there a different creative way that we can look at this?
Right.
You know, and we get to do this, even doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, man, can you imagine 10 years ago having something like this and we could talk about stuff like this?
Yeah.
No, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I think in every population too, you're gonna have a conservative group that wants to retain.
The hardliners, yep.
You have the hardliners that's conservative and don't want to change anything, and then you're gonna have the progressive types who are gonna take ideas that we have, evolve them, and then it just depends on you. It's a personal choice where you want to stand. You want to stand on that side where it says no, things have to stay the way they are. Are you more in the middle where say I can embrace the new changes within the Hmong community as well as I see what's nice about the old, or you're extremely progressive and you're like, hey, I want to change things up for the Hmong community.
Yeah.
Either way.
Or you're a reasonable person. You can go.
And you're in the middle. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you should be able to see
Yeah,
both
good
sides,
things
of
about both.
course.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we try to always do, is see both sides,
Yeah.
because every person has an argument that is fair and just to
There's
them.
some validation.
Yeah,
and-
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Because you need a little bit of both sides.
You need both sides. So regardless, and I don't even sweat about it as much. I just, like you said, like we're doing, I just try to push Hmong my way, how I can,
Yeah.
in my style,
Yeah.
and it is what it is.
And we talk
And if
about
you're not
that.
happy about it, it is what it is.
Yeah,
It's
we
just,
talk
you
about
know,
that on the pod. It's like the best way to represent among people is just being
Just
you're
be
putting
you
your
and
best
do your
foot
thing,
forward,
yeah.
right? By being
Try your
the
best
best
and-
two you can be, by being the best you can be, and me being the best Peng I could be. You know what really gets me upset is like when people try to enforce their Hmong onto you.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's-
It's like
I feel like
That's
we
like
all
the-
grew up in that, though.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
But-
like a Hmong.
Yeah,
Like,
but you know, I think one of the things I could be completely wrong, but one of the things that I analyzed about that is it comes from a place of fear.
yeah, yeah.
It does,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Get to
yeah.
China, you get to China that got a bone now. Like you fear that you'll lose it. So then there's that deflection where you're just
Yeah.
like, well, you're not Hmong enough, and blah blah blah. And it's like,
Yeah.
again, like we're saying, it's like, okay, so, but that's an identity issue. Like, I think that when people can settle in their identity and who they are,
Right.
they don't have to flex it on people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
yes,
It-
I agree.
You know, and that's one of the things I've learned. Like, so a lot of the commenters that go hard on us, I see it in like, oh, you're afraid because someone's challenging your worldview.
Wow.
And if you're not accepting all these worldviews, if you're not considering it, then you can't grow. You can't grow. And you change,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You have to be able to change. You have to grow for the better. Like, if at the end of the day, we say to all the Hmong people in the world, says, do you want to see our people succeed and move forward? The answer is yes. I guarantee you, 99.999% would say, yes, I want to see us.
yeah.
How we choose to get there, there's going to be 9 billion
Yeah,
different
many,
ways.
many
Right.
ways.
But the thing is, we're getting to the same, we want to get to the same location, right? The same point. It's okay. And then sometimes change is hard and people have fear. And how do they reflect or deflect that fear? It's usually saying, this is the way it should be done. You know, if you look at everything in this world, if you look at, let us go, like if you look at like political stance or whatever, there's a sense of fear. It's like you actually kind of want this, like both, like if you look at, I just say
Right.
like political sides,
Yep.
you actually want
You both
the
want the
same
same
thing.
thing,
You guys
yeah.
want
Yeah.
the same thing. The way you get there, that's where you guys like
Yeah,
bump
it's
heads a
where you
little
bump
bit, But let's not forget what the point is here,
Right.
And so that's why when we get these comments and get these things, I just go, I get that you want the same thing. I get that you're, that at the end of the day, truly, this is what you want. But you feel that I'm going the way that you don't want it to go.
Yep.
Right.
And out of that comes out this kind of this negative stuff that comes
Yeah.
out of you. And it's
Yeah.
like, how else to say it? It's not that I'm mad. I'm just sad for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am. Like, you have to get beyond this.
Yeah.
Like the most comments we get is, this Hmong food isn't like Hmong village. It's like, this isn't Hmong food. Don't put the name Hmong on this.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
Mika food. And it's just like, okay, I get it, but like, in a semi-joking way, but serious way, it's like, who hurt you, man? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, who hurt you? Like,
No, it's
there's
true.
pain
You
there.
got
Like,
too much time.
Yeah,
yeah.
You got too much time on your hand to
Yeah.
even consider that.
But one of the things, and I said this at the Meat Eater podcast, and I've really learned about this, is like hurt people. When you're hurt, when you come from hurt, like something in the family hurts you.
Yeah.
And you have all that hurt pent up. There's no, like, what do you do? So you have to just let it go somewhere. So then the easiest thing, the most common thing is to hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't want all this hurt. So you don't mean to, but you hurt somebody else, hoping that they'll take that hurt away. And it's like, okay, now I don't. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, though, man. Like, think about like Hmong weddings, huh? And think about how they do the blona and all that stuff and all. You know what that is? That is generational grudges that you get to pass down from family to family. That's such bull crap.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like this happened. Your uncle did this to our aunt, blah blah blah, at this time, like 50 years ago, and then you got your Hmong ya, your Hmong mom, or whatever, and then it's like blah, and then it's like the dowry goes up. When does it stop, dude?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like
I
when does it stop? Because all it is like we were hurt, and to bring repercussion to that, we're gonna hurt you now. And then what happens in that family? Well, next time we go to the next wedding. And then and it's just like this doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Right.
It is we carry each other's baggage and each other's pain, and we get to pass it on to the next one, pass it on. And I'm like, but it has to stop, because what's going to happen? All this 18 clans, all of us, 18 of us, big 18 clan. Are we just going to do this all the time?
Yeah.
Because, dang, dudes, you guys know that we already have enough issues with the world itself outside of the Hmong world. The last thing we need is to fight for scraps.
Right.
You know? And so that's my thing, man. Like, I get it. As young people, we get to reboot this generation a little
absolutely.
bit. We get to reboot that. We get to recalibrate. That like all three of us with it's different last name, different clans. We can sit here. We can talk, and we can be like, look, something happened with our fathers, something happened with our grandfathers, something happened with our great grandfathers, something happened with them.
Yeah.
And that sucks and it hurts. But we get to restart over. We get to build the world we want it to build.
Yeah.
And didn't our fathers and forefathers fight for that?
Right.
Like they fought for it.
Fought
so that,
and died.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And so I get real frustrated when I hear that. And sometimes when people throw crap on us, and I'm like, you gotta let that pain go, dude.
Yeah.
If you don't let it go and you just keep it, it's just in the 18 clans, it'll just keep circling.
Yeah, that's beautifully said because that's a big concern of mine too. Like especially doing this podcast, we're putting out so much content.
Yeah.
Like it's easy for somebody to come in and shit on us. And,
but we know our value.
Yeah.
It's like when we talked with James, who's going to be a psychologist soon, and we talked about values. It's like, I think we have a pretty good understanding of our personal values, right? I mean, I know that I do, which is why I'm not afraid to speak and say, well, if you want to judge me on that, you can. I mean, and you will. I expect that you do, actually. Yeah. Because when I listen to other things, I usually have an opinion about what I hear as well. Yeah. So I expect it, but...
Yeah, I gotta sell a couple more lip balms before I start talking crazy. Make a little bit more money.
I think you gotta get as big as Joe Rogan before you can start saying whatever you want. Yeah.
But I don't really think it's crazy though. Like I think that again, like us three of us, we align.
Yeah.
We are definitely all aligned. And I think we might have different views of how we want to do things, but I think we're aligned. Where it's just like how do we preserve our culture, but then how do we progress our culture? So it's like how do you preserve it? How do you progress it?
We need to get a hard, conservative, Hmong-minded person in here because I need to be challenged in that sense.
I know a few of those guys. They still live in North Minneapolis. Throw the N-word around.
But I feel like it would be a good conversation to also be challenged in that sense.
But
but you have to be able to be open though to discussion.
And I think that's the point of what you guys do, where it's just like, it has to be somebody who's willing. Like here, just to get people at the table and to sit and